All right. So the real story of Colonel Routh Goshen is that he was actually Arthur James Cawley, born in 1824 on the Isle of Man. Now,
What?
If you don't know what the Isle
Are
of
you
Man
telling
is,
me that this is not a fucking Israeli man?
this is not a Palestine Arabian giant who definitely seemed like a tall white guy to me, but was built as such by himself. So we'll get into that. So he was born in the Isle of Man, which for the 7 listeners who don't know, is a small island between Ireland and Britain, or England, excuse me, and it is part of the UK. This is what Connor was trying to educate us on, is that the UK includes the islands and the other kind of things that they own because they're all a bunch of bullshit and all that. So it's in the UK. So he was born on the island. Obviously, he was a fucking giant. He was probably like fucking 6.5 feet tall when he was 6.5 years old. So in his mid-20s, he went to the big show. He went to Manchester. and he then, because he got a photograph or something in Manchester, so they knew he was there. He ended up in London and was kind of doing a bit of touring, but might have kind of just been being a young guy in a big city. And then he actually ends up in Paris. So he's in Paris, where he was, and this was a quote or a part of the sources, that he was popular in salons. Now, I wrote a joke, and I'm going to call it out right now, about him having a great sheet of back hair, and he was very popular in salons for practicing blow drying and all this other shit. But salons at the time were considered places they were like kind of intellectual clubs is essentially what they were. So it was a lot of chatting and all that other stuff, but essentially it was like like-minded individuals getting together and discussing ideas. Now, for my money though, they brought a super tall guy into an intellectual club. He's still there to be gawked at and be talked about. Yeah. The same way he was in PT. So yeah, it's the same shit. So anyway, he was very popular in Paris. And I think it was at that point he kind of, and this is all conjecture here, but he kind of decided like, man, I could probably make a living being a fucking tall guy. See what happens. So in 1853, so he was born in 1824, 1853, he's in Paris and all this other stuff. Cawley's mother receives a letter stating that her son is dead at 29 years old. He's dead.
What?
29.
Yeah. 29. He died in Paris when he was 29 years old.
The City of Lights.
Interestingly enough, the timing is very suspicious because Cawley's manager at the time had recently taken out a $2,000 life insurance policy on the young man just before this was filed.
Oh, my God.
It thickens. So basically, long story short, Cawley's got some fucking walking around money. He's got $2,000 that he probably split, so maybe he's got $1,000 in his pocket. And he does what every good person does with money in their pocket. He fucks off to the US of A to make a name for himself with the rest of us fucking mooks.
Beautiful.
Yeah, why not? His mother gets a death certificate in 1953, right? It is confirmed that he starts working with P.T. Barnum in 1860. So in that 7 years, probably took him 6 months to cross the fucking ocean or whatever, but there's not really a lot known, right? When he comes here, when he comes to the US of A, he starts traveling in smaller kind of shows, being exhibited, quote unquote, by smaller shows. And that's when he takes on the identity of the Arabian giant, of the Palestine giant. It seemed to be of his own creation, or maybe his managers or somebody gave him the idea, whatever. But before he actually went to P.T. Barnum and crew in the 1860s, early 1860s, he had already developed that identity. And so that's actually why PT ended up taking him on, because he existed before as that identity.
KY, I have a question. I want to back up to this Paris thing.
Yeah.
I think I just want to get my information straight because I think I got it wrong. So this guy, is he assuming a fake identity, or was there another person that he was working with that he took this insurance policy out on? Can you explain the insurance policy thing to me?
So it's kind of like one line, and I couldn't really, there's not much on it besides the fact that who he was born as Arthur James Cawley, technically died and legally died in Paris in 1853.
Got
There
it.
was a death certificate. The official letter goes to his mom because it wasn't like a handwritten letter. It was like the official letter, like, "Hey, back in the day, your fucking kid's dead," and that's brutal, right? But so they actually thought that he was dead. So family thought he was dead. He cut all ties. Now, obviously, what actually happened is they faked his death, and he assumed the identity of the Palestine Giant. Now, I don't know actually what his legal name was in the U.S. or what he was operating under. I don't know that. They don't say it. They just say his real name is Arthur James Gawley, and that's it. So he did, quote unquote, fake his original birth death and then became somebody new in the U.S. Now, I think we can all give a little bit to the times. Like, it was a period of time where you could kind of just be somebody else. If he moved a state away, he could be somebody else.
I was about to say, those were the days where you could just legally die and become someone new. Yeah. And that was perfectly fine.
Yeah. Dude, I would be Seal in a heartbeat.
Seal? I'm gonna be Charles Big Dixon.
Old Chucky Big Dixon. Oh yeah.
Old Chucky Big Dixon.
At least I wanted to be someone like Black and Famous. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
What?
I for some reason I thought Ryan was going to say Charles Barkley, and I was like, dude, he's not dead, and he's still like on ESPN.
He's still alive.
Is Seal dead?
No, Seal's still alive. But Charles Barkley's on like ESPN and shit. So like, I just I had this vision in my head of Ryan like becomes Charles Barkley, and he's like, and now with Charles Barkley and Shaq, they're going to do the commentary, and it'd be Ryan and Shaq.
When I see the Portland Trailblazers, I'm like, they need a new hero. They need to get started.
And it's a really good Charles Barkley.
It's a pretty good Charles Barkley.
This is
on his couch practicing.
This is where, yeah.
Yeah. How much Sports Center are you watching at the Charles Barkley?
Well, technically it's TNT, fellas. Okay, he does the TNT commentary.
Which already tells you that you know more than you wish you did about Charles Barkley's career right now.
In case you weren't aware.
Charles Barkley is the John Madden of the basketball world.
Oh, for sure. Because you know that voice. You definitely know that voice.
I don't know. I was thinking this the other day. Is John Madden alive?
He is alive.
No, he died.
No, he's alive.
No, he died of a heart attack a couple years ago.
See, this is why I'm asking. Because I was like, I thought I heard he died, but I can't be sure. He was so fat. He was so fat.
He was so sad.
But he was on so many video games. He has to still be
he's still the
he'll live forever.
He's doing video games even post-mortem.
That voice will live on. They basically have him saying every word of the American alphabet.
Okay, we still have him as technically living. Born in 1936.
Ooh, technically living.
Meaning, I've gone to Wikipedia and it says he was born in 1936. There is no death date.
Let us pray to the Lord God, Wikipedia.
Let us pray to the Lord God, Wikipedia. That's exactly
Ryan is absolutely right. So, and I'm not the first fucker to get this wrong too, because I type in John Madden death, and then it says people also ask, is John Madden from the NFL still alive?
Dude, it just means it's a fair question. We're not on base.
Yeah, I thought he was dead as fuck. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. Sorry.
The side routes, and then they're going to go out, and then you break your arm. But if you break your leg, your arm doesn't hurt anymore. Bloomin' onions.
You're going to need to score more touchdowns to win this game. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John Madden.
Thank you, John.
I hope your giant neck doesn't choke you to death in your sleep. You know,
it doesn't choke when I sleep to my side and I eat a bloomin' onion prior.
It's just him sleeping with an enormous bloomin' onion, a Colonel Goshen size bloomin' onion.
That's a callback to the story we actually probably need to be talking about.
I would also like to back up and say that all your John Madden jokes are offensive. So
wow.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
You get right out.
I am offended by John Madden jokes.
I want to say that Big Cat's John Madden impression just sounds like a fatter Christopher Walken.
Destroyed you. Killed you, son.
But it's still on point.
It's still pretty good, yeah.
I had this bloomin' onion. Let me say, it was whole thing was like a onion that was blooming.
That was blooming, and it was everywhere. The onion was.
Why does it? I want to know who writes Christopher Walken's scripts. Like how many fucking periods do you have to put inside of that?
Christopher Walken writes
Taylor.
his own scripts.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
Get
hope
on the
no one
ship.
else touches that.
Get on the ship. This will be the wedding crashers.
Kill you, a stab in the eye with an ice pick. Wow, we took a weird turn here.
Weird
Okay.
turn. Weird
Tell me
turn.
about Goshen.
What did you guys think of my Christopher Walken? Was that all right?
Was
good.
it Christopher Walken?
Yeah, it was good.
It was good.
The Christopher Walken was a bad Madden, but it was a good walk.
Wow, Ryan is getting compliments and taking fucking hits. I love it.
Tucking and juking, and
Yes.
he's fighting.
He's winning some and he's losing some. It's a rough night.
Guys, and Kyle, I don't know how to tell you this, but as a professional comedian, that's how it works. Okay, you take something, you could learn something from this. You know what I mean? A lot of hit and miss out here. I live by them, I die by them. That's how my impressions work.
You know what, Ryan? Thank you so much. I couldn't even be funny if it weren't for your harsh critiques.
I'm your true mentor.
It's like your spirit animal.
Oh my god!
All right, KY, tell me about Goshen, man. What's going on with Goshen? So
All
he
right.
comes to the United States. What happens?
So yeah, fakes his death. 1853, comes to the U.S., starts to make a name for himself as the Arabian Giant, the Palestine Giant. There's a pretty decent sized gap between that point and when he starts up with P.T. Barnum in 1860. So the one notable things that happen, and I hate this because there is next to no information besides this little thing, but he gets married in 1859 to, I'm going to butcher this, Celestina Towns of Montreal, and that's it. That's
I'm gonna take this to Google.
yeah. Celestina N. Towns, N as in Nancy or necromancer. Who can say what her middle name is?
Oh, she got powers. Was she a tall lady?
There is a guy. There is like no information on her. I have information about his future relationships, and there is nothing on this chick. It's just like he was married.
Future. This is his first lady of many ladies.
Let's just say he has a bit of a storied history.
He has got a giant hog dick. We're not even joking around anymore. This is not,
Honestly, if
he's selling
foreign,
something they're
you know that
buying.
dick is big. If he's foreign, you know that dick is big.
So I do while Justin's googling Celestina to see if anything comes up, because I googled her and nothing came up.
Yeah, I can't find a fucking thing.
Yeah,
Try
you
Bing.
can't try Bing. Connor, shots fired. So
I am trying Bing. Yeah, hold on. I'll do that.
I will say I made this connection far longer than it took me. So he's a guy with for the better part, an English accent. So I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with the Isle of Man, but there is a thing on the island where they're considered Manx people, which is M-A-N-X. Now, I literally knew nothing about this until I Googled it. So there's like a heritage and a cultural thing where they are the Manx people, and it's all about being a Manx person. And Manx is actually a dialect, like Gaelic is a dialect. So I think they do probably sound a little bit different, but it's similar to English, Irish, Scottish. It's somewhere in that family. Now, all that aside, he was billed as, spoke to married folks under the guise of being an Arabian or Palestine giant, but he had a English, quasi-English accent. I don't get that
where
fucking
he was
leap.
raised. God, you're so bigoted, bro.
And I don't know. Is it still like how the folks from the English colonies were sending their rich children to English schools? He was given this backstory as the Palestine giant that I didn't even.
And
bother
if you were well, so I mean, I don't know if I need to say this, but those were part of the British colonies. I don't know if I needed to say that or not.
you say what you got to say. Don't let anyone tell you what you have to say.
exactly what I just said.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but
Oh, is this new information? Is this new information?
Never heard before.
You,
Let's listen
You've
intently.
just been
I'm
hit in the
sorry.
head with a worldwide
I'm
exclusive.
sorry. Honestly, here's the problem. I wanted to continue this joke. I could not because I couldn't remember literally 2 minutes ago when you were saying he was Arabian with an English accent and who he was meeting. I couldn't.
We got to stop doing 2-hour warm-ups, guys. We're getting too drunk before we record.
This is brutal. And I knew it was going to be a long one, and we still took 2 hours to do it.
It still took 2 hours.
So, anyway.
None of
back
these
to
jokes
this.
are landing over here. None of these jokes are landing.
Dude, you just gave me a lesson in comedy, all right? We all know a lot about comedy. You know a lot about the internet. We all know a lot about comedy.
As a
We do
comedian.
now. We do now.
Yeah.
God, this episode's all over the place. I love it.
I know
All right.
the internet and I know a lot of British colonialism.
Do you? Do you?
No, I think the better question, should you? Don't get any ideas, little whitey.
Other thing I know, animal dildos.
Everything comes back around as fads.
Yeah,
Everything comes back to
it
animal dildos because that's always funny when you're drunk and you don't know what to say. What's funny?
Animal dildos.
So, our friend, Colonel Roshan, Roshan, God, Goshen. Now I've had 4 beers. This is too much. It's Colonel Goshen / Arthur Colley. He marries Celestina Towns of Montreal, and that's it. I mean, like, I found the blurb in the paper about it that just says basically Giant gets married to this chick, and then nothing else happens. There's no notification of a divorce. There's no notification of her death or anything. So I don't know if he fucking sewed her into a giant pair of pants or what happened, but she gone.
And honestly, that's what happens when you're a giant man. I'm gonna just sew my wives into my pants.
He needs more pant material.
More pants, and I'm gonna just sew these women together as pants.
As evidenced by his ad in the Chicago Giant selection,
Better
Giant
than your
inventory.
pants. Better
I
than
have
your
my
wives.
own line. I added it in.
Yeah. You know what's better than fabric? Wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
Ugh.
good for pant
It
material.
looks like your wife is part of your pant. That's what their actual slogan was, and that's true. That's because that's on the internet, and
That's
I
It's
know,
always there with
That's
you.
factual.
Comfort.
I know the internet, guys.
So 10 years later, so 1859, he marries the Celestina, right? Nothing else is known, nothing else happening. In that time period, he is traveling with P.T. Barnum. All that was real. He was on it as the Arabian Giant. He's doing the whole thing. He's in New York doing the shit. So in 1869, as he's with P.T. Barnum and crew, he gets married again after not getting divorced or something, but he gets married again to Augusta White. Well, she's a German former snake charmer.
I'm into it.
We all know the snake charmer is great with the penis. That's
And
not-
then German on top of that.
Charming Colonel Goshen's giant snake cock.
yeah, charming. The Colonel's cobra.
God damn it. So he is married to this German snake charmer. Yes, penis joke. That's why I kept it all in there.
Thank you.
So they're married. They're living in New Jersey. He's got like this farm in New Jersey. It's worth a lot of money. He's been doing all right. He's been working for years now, right? He's established in this is 1869. So his old performer buddy, who you don't really hear about before this and anything I could find, this guy's name is John Sweet, whatever. And it just says that he is a circus showman, which I assume he had the straightest teeth they could find and was capable of throwing peanuts at women and children. I think that's what a showman was.
Into their mouths.
Just right into it. Yeah.
Mouth.
With an
Heard of
F.
that? That's something that
With an
happens.
F.
Yeah.
You did say peanuts.
I said
Peanuts into the mouths.
Yep.
Making
Yeah,
sure.
it was a lot of peanuts and penis into the mouth.
That's
Yeah.
what
Well,
Blasting
Into the
nuts into children's faces.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
definitely pull nuts into children's face.
So whenever Con Man speaks, there's always something very profound.
And this time it's nuts into children's faces.
I've got a reputation to uphold here.
He did do the horse dick episode. So his buddy John Sweet, the professional nutter, he shows up with his wife.
Nutman.
No, excuse me. The professional nutman. Thank you.
Yes.
And I'm sure this is going to garner a little reaction. He shows up with his wife, the bareback rider, Mrs. Elizabeth Sebastian.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh my
Justin,
god. Oh my
yes.
god.
That's what I've been waiting for.
What is she bareback riding?
A horse,
Who's-
you monster. Yeah.
Oh.
I see nothing wrong with
That
this.
Colonel Goshen.
Wow, she is crazy. I love how kinky this woman is.
You know what I'm going to say? Based on our Mr. Hands episodes or last episodes, I think the horse is actually consenting to her actions against the horse in this scenario.
Which is her
Her barebacking.
It makes it legal.
Oh,
the horse is
I would
consenting.
consent to her actions against me also.
She could be 600 pounds.
I
You
don't
have
give
no
a
clue.
I'm a
It's
fucking
the story. It's the story. It has his hooks in
story.
him. He's ready to give it up.
It's the story. It's the story. You get turned on by the story.
Get turned on. She's
I don't
a
know.
powerful
I
woman.
have no idea how I don't have venereal disease by now, but it's gonna happen. And it's those kind of
You know, honestly, so obviously, the jokes are there, right? She's barebacking it, but I always think of she's got to have the world's like strongest. What are they, abductors or the adductors? Where she's just gripping this fucking horse. It's like she's professionally riding a barrel. Like, I'm only mentioning this because there's a sexual component to that, right? She could crush a fucking watermelon in there.
Yeah.
No question.
And it's online. It's online if you need to see it. I'm a master of the internet.
I want to see it. I need to see more crushing.
I've seen some documentaries where women are crushing things between their thighs.
They are
And I will
documentaries.
say, for my money, I think Miss Elizabeth Sebastian could probably get that job done.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. She was a watermelon crusher for sure.
Oh, yeah. So John Sweet, show up on the giant Arthur Cawley's doorstep in New Jersey with his wife. And he's like, hey, bro, we ain't got no money. We need a place to live. We're in the area. Can we crash? And he was like, you know what? I got a farm. I got some bedrooms. I got a lot of love in my giant heart. You come stay in my house. So for, as far as I can tell, a time, they live together, right? The giant's being cool about it. His wife's being cool about it. Augusta is being cool about it, the snake charmer. While he was traveling around, the giant was out of the house. And when the giant's away, the showman will play. So the showman played his way into Augusta White's sweet, sweet snake accepting lair. And they be fucking a bunch. Now, the single caveat here is that his wife divorced every adult in that house way before this happened. So there were 3 adults. She was like, fuck you to all of them, and leaves like months earlier. And for some reason, apparently Arthur was a trusting guy in his big, enormous heart. He was like, listen, I'm going to go he was in like Europe. He wasn't like down the road at the museum, like an hour's horse ride away. Nah, he was like in Europe, weeks away. These 2 people who were alone started hooking up. So Augusta and John Sweet became an item. Now, as egregious as that is, and as shitty as that is, because he's a fucking dirty, what'd you say, a nutman?
A nutman.
He's a nutman. He's a nutman. So you know what he's capable of.
Flicking and such.
Flicking and such. So they hook up. Sweet pays off his mortgage, thereby stealing his home based on the laws at the time. Because he goes into the bank, he's got the note, the physical note, pays off the mortgage, and puts it in his name, which was legal. So he literally steals his fucking house. Now wait for this. Makes off with his wife, obviously. He steals $70,000 in their money, $70,000.
It was $70,000 at that time.
$70,000 in 1869, 1870.
Oh my God.
In gold. So he had it in gold and silver. So honestly, Cawley had built up a serious cachet at that point.
That's got to be like $1 million.
Yeah, it's a ton, right? It's a ton of money. I didn't do the math. I did a math on this other thing, so you'll see this.
Oh wow, good research, man. You didn't even do the fucking
What an asshole. I hope you are having a great day.
He's smiling. He's happy. No problem.
You don't look insane at all. So he stole his house. He's definitely banging his wife. He steals $70K in gold and silver that he had laying around. he steals his horse and wagon, which is probably the strongest goddamn horse on the planet for dragging his big ass around. And so honestly, guys, this is what drew me to the story. Is I found a quote that said, in this debacle that's going down, the John Sweet stealing all this stuff, John Sweet and his wife make off with Cawley's knowledgeable goat worth over $100 at the time. $100 at the time is worth over $3,000 in today's money.
Oh my God.
I don't know how
The
fucking smart.
goat.
I don't know how smart this goat is, but it's worth $3 fucking K.
Yeah.
So knowledgeable goat. What does that mean, KY?
I'm like, no lie, no bullshit. I was like, I have to research this story now because I read there's a giant guy, his wife made off with his friend, and they stole his knowledgeable goat. And I was like, I'm in. That's it. That's all I fucking need. You fucking hooked me, internet. I don't know. I couldn't find any information on the goat. I was like, the goat's in the circus. The goat's with P.T. Barnum. The goat is something. It is just a knowledgeable goat, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck does it know? Like,
It's like you're gonna want the 55 Chardonnay, and then we're gonna after we all sit down, everything's gonna be understood. Like, who the fuck trained this goat?
It's a fucking sommelier. That's what it is. It's a full Italian-trained sommelier or a French-trained sommelier.
You could see someone getting so upset they like spit in the goat's face. This goat doesn't know wine. Get him out!
Let's go out of here. This is clearly a blend.
You know
That's
what's
a knowledgeable goat.
The
Goat.
sommelier jokes went way above my head, but I figured it out through context.
Sommelier.
Yeah, so in truth, I don't know what a knowledgeable goat is. My single realistic theory is that I don't know if there's like some sort of like alpha goat in like a herd of goats, and maybe it's like it's the goat that tells all the other goats what to do. I don't fucking know. I don't know what a knowledgeable goat is. But but the thing is, they fucking took it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, it must have some value if they stole him.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. I don't know why I made it him, but look. So when I was in Spain, like I was like driving like from like Sevilla to Cadiz or something fucking stupid. And as I'm driving through Spain, this herd of goats has cut off the road, and I'm watching these goats walk. And I don't know if you've ever seen, like, goats have udders like a cow, but they're like between its legs, its hind legs. So it looks like giant balls that scrape across the ground.
Oh, Jesus.
No, they're fucking huge and they're disgusting. So, and when people eat goat cheese, and I know like where that came from, I decide, fuck you, hipster, you suck. But that's irrelevant. Not the point. The point is that I can't imagine one of these animals that have cut me off on my way from Sevilla to Cadiz with their giant testicles scraping across the ground as being any smarter than I am or knowledgeable about any fucking thing. So KY, honestly, we got to do a better job of research here because I need to know what the fuck this goat do that I don't.
I don't know. I have there's a tiny part of me that thinks maybe it knows what he's eating to make him so tall. Maybe that's it. It's the Jack and the Beanstalk. He got the magic beans. The guy's eating the fucking beans.
They're on the same diet.
Maybe the goat knew about the affair.
Maybe
The goat saw.
But how does that make it worth $3,000 to Cawley? He can't
I don't
tell
know.
him.
You're right.
I don't
You're
know.
right. I think you're right. I think Ryan's got something.
What was that?
Pull out your dick. Pull out your dick. Pull out your dick.
I'm keeping that in. This stays in.
No, don't keep that in. I
Trade off.
Oh man, sorry.
I cut Ryan off, like, and I didn't mean to, and I like the frustration in his face. I'm like, oh, Ryan's got
I
something.
said it and I forgot. It's been a blur
damn
of an episode. It's been a blur of an episode, and you know.
It's a lot of info.
Honestly, here's the thing: this goat and Kyle are way too sensitive for the thing. That's what I'm noticing.
All of a sudden, I'm lumped in with the goat. Why
You're
am I
lumped in with the
lumped
goat. You're lumped in. Very sensitive.
Both knowledgeable, both sensitive.
You know what? He's a $3,000 goat. I don't know if I mind that all the time.
Honestly, you're a $3,000 person. Yeah, goat in person.
I'm not sure. Is that offensive or is that not offensive? I don't think it's an insult.
Value? We have no idea what our own value is.
Accomplice all.
So I'll tell you this. My dad is a sheet metal worker, and he said that for every finger you lose, you get $1,000. So that's technically only 3 fingers.
Is
Yeah,
that
but if you're a sheet metal worker, though, like
you're
if I lose a finger, I don't get shit.
Yeah.
I'm
Kyle,
in
you
the
work
wrong
in an
business.
office, so I don't know what that is.
I could get a computer to type.
We
it
know
for me.
in an office they treat you like shit.
Yeah.
Well-
I am basically treated like a knowledgeable goat in my fucking job. I'm laughing the hardest because it hurts me the most.
Yes.
Well, I like.
I'm laughing because these are feelings. Yeah.
If you look at
Is that what
the
it is?
5 of us and you would like add a value to that, like compared to the goat. If you look at the most valuable people in this group, Ryan teaches young minds how to be successful.
No.
He's shaking his head right now. But it's true.
It's true.
Ryan teaches.
I show up to school and I pretend to do the thing. Yeah, for
But
sure.
You had a thing on Facebook the other day praising a kid that got a scholarship.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, I was so happy about that. Yeah, that kid was fucking rocking.
Well, what was cool is like you had a thing in that, like, so that gives you like a lot of value to like the rest of the world. Like, I sell construction for some shit you don't need to get fixed.
You know that's not fair.
We only validate each other. In this scenario, I think we're all knowledgeable goats.
I think
You're all knowledgeable.
I think we're all knowledgeable goats. I think we're all knowledgeable
I think
goats.
we're all knowledgeable
I
goats.
drink wine. I don't know. I'm just saying, you guys.
That's right. And I think the 2 things we know, we're all knowledgeable goats. And 2, this goat was definitely a trained sommelier. I think that we know that. I think that's factual at this point.
Definitely.
You know, that's an absolute. So,
Just held the bottle to his nose. Bah. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
no. You know what?
Pass.
Pass. It's a pass for me. The goat says so.
That's like a wine genius, right? This word you keep using.
Basically,
It's a wine genius. It's like an apple genius, except for wine.
I worked.
The wine actually comes with different vocabulary words on the bottle. That's
It's
what I've
true.
noticed.
You have to learn another language. It's mostly French.
It's
But
mostly-
other than that, they will literally pay people outrageous amounts of money after they go through schooling and train to get a certificate that says they could basically wear a blindfold, smell wine, and tell you where it came from.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty much it.
That's
I
beautiful.
mean, if it's good money.
6 figures at least.
Yeah.
Really?
In San Francisco, fuck
They
yeah.
could they literally work in a restaurant and like prepare wine lists. Like buy wine, manage wine, but it's just wine. That's
If
it.
the salary is good, here's the thing. We say 6 figures. I know for a fact whatever estimate, regardless of inflation, it's more than what I make. And so clearly I need to go for that job.
Yeah.
Well, I
I mean,
mean,
is you like drinking wine, so that'd be great.
That would be good. I would just, oh.
Oh,
So
Jesus
orgasmic.
Christ! Oh, here it comes. Mm.
The
Just
toasty
try-
notes of cocoa and strawberries.
I would screw it up. I would walk up to a table, stumble there because I have a fucking blindfold on.
You don't do everything in the blindfold.
Start smelling the wine then. Oh, whoa. Oh, yeah. You will definitely like this. It's dry. You will, guys. I'm sorry. I just missed your glass entirely. You'll still pay for this bottle. That's okay.
You'll love it. They've absconded with the money, the house, the fucking goat, the horse, and the wagon, right? Classic dick move by both people, right? So John Sweet and Augusta White, classic bitches, full-on bitches, both of them. So Cauley, he divorces the smelly snake charmer, obviously, in 79. So it's actually, so he's married to her for 10 years. I don't have a date on when they kind of fucked him over officially, but I don't think the divorce happened right away. Anyway, so in 79, he divorces her officially. 2 years later, Cauley / Goshen, he's in Atlantic City, being fucking tall, as you do, and trying to make some bucks. And he sees John Sweet on the fucking boardwalk of Atlantic City 2 years later. So
Goshen
I
is
like
walking
this.
around being tall in Atlantic City.
in Atlantic
And he
City,
just sees And he sees the dude that fucked his life up the most.
The one thing that baffles me about this is minimum Arthur Colley is 7'4". All right. And John Sweet is probably, let's just say, a regular size guy. He could be fat, he could be short, he could be kind of tall, he could be bald, all this other stuff, right? He would blend in with a crowd.
Here's the thing. I want Kyle to tell us what regular size is because he has such a prejudice about it.
And now we have built-in biases coming here.
There's no bias. I'm just wondering, you fucking monster. there's no bias. I'm just wondering.
He could be 5'7" Irish, 5'7" show height, in Atlantic City on the boardwalk.
Wow, that sounds very familiar to some people.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan on this stance. You're bullshit.
We can't get into the heightism stuff, right?
As the other person who's shorter than 6 foot in this group, you can go fuck yourself, KY. You piece of shit.
My whole point for going into this is that John Sweet, better than Colley, can blend into the fucking crowd. But you got to see 7'4" coming down the fucking boardwalk. But for some reason, they fucking meet face to face. And yeah, right? It's, again, you're like, you didn't see this guy? Again, he was pretending to be a fucking flagpole while you were walking down the street.
What was he doing?
So, long story short is, fucking Arthur Colley beats his ass with a fucking cane.
Yes.
He beat him so bad and so long that the description from the newspaper article was that he had spread him across the beach.
Wow.
Fuck yeah. Well, that's the only way you can beat someone's ass in Jersey.
Right? Like, he had to show the fuck up. Atlantic City, welcome to the fucking jungle, bitch. So he beat him with his cane, right? He essentially
the cane.
He destroyed this guy's fucking face and head. Apparently this guy had bruises, lacerations, his head's beat to shit. At the time when the cops finally came and tried to fucking slow Colley down, dude, John Sweet couldn't even move his fucking right arm because it was the arm he tried to block his face with.
Oh my God.
Whipped his ass, hands down whipped his ass.
Fuck that dude. He deserved that shit.
Yeah, you're like, sweet justice, man. 2 years and he beat his ass and is in Atlantic City in front of everybody.
Oh, definitely. Because, people are just walking. Look at that man over there being beaten. Hilarious.
No, it's probably like, that's a tall man beating that man to death. Jesus Christ.
That's why you don't mess with the tall man.
That's right. He's got the reach, baby. And he had the cane. Oh, my God. Honestly, I've been thinking about it for like the last 2 weeks, and it had to be quite the sight, right?
Oh my God, no!
Well, what an image!
Well, I just think about like how big Goshen was. Like Goshen won. Jesus, Sweet must have made these like horrible tactical decisions the whole way through. Okay, you're on a beach. There's sand. Okay, 1, 2. You can see Goshen from like a mile away. He's huge. He's got a cane, so obviously he's not that mobile, right? But you still let this man get within fucking arm's range of you after stealing his wife and his fortune, and his goat. Motherfucker, you steal my goat? Fuck you, bro.
To add to that, was Goshen running, or was it more like a Friday the 13th thing where he's just like walking really fast?
I imagine a sturdy plod.
Yeah.
He's aggressively walking and beating his fucking ass.
That's so good.
No, but do it in like a circus 1800s way. There you go.
That's so beautiful.
And then the sounds of a man screaming on the beach and a cane hitting skull. That's all it was.
We're
I just want to know what Sweet's thought process was. Like, why not run? Like, you can I swear to you, I will outrun a 7'4" man any day.
Yeah, promise you can outrun this guy. He's not an NBA player. He's
brought the goat.
He's nearly crippled by this disease. Yeah, so anyway, Sweet justice is served on Sweet. Boom, nailed that joke. Pun. Also, no shock, Colley gets arrested a short time later. And there is no court filings or anything like this. They basically like gave him a fine, and he paid the fine and went back to fucking Jersey and just peaced out. And he was like, there was nothing about him fighting it. He didn't fight the ticket. None of that. No drama. He was just like, all right, I'll pay your fine.
Beat that man's ass.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I beat that dude's ass. I'll pay your fine.
I'll pay your fine.
It felt good too. Fuck that dude.
I'm sure he was happy to pay that fine. Yeah, get fucked. So he pays the fine. He moves on. So in 1884, he marries somebody else, and quite honestly, he just divorces her. He marries somebody else in 1880, then divorces her 4 years later. It honestly wasn't really notable.
Many wives.
Yeah, so the long story short is he was married like 3 times. Quite the history with the ladies. I don't know if it speaks to the dong. We probably don't need to go into it again.
And that's a curse when you have a big dong.
Yeah, I feel him. That's
a woman who's
been married. He's been married one more time than I have.
Speaks volumes about our dear J Money.
Indeed, just one.
I have a tiny dick.
Yeah, imagine having
it's
a big
ferocious
dick.
though.
So in 1884, right? So he did retire from PT and all that Barnum and Bailey shit. He retired that in the early 1880s, and so by the time he marries his chick and then divorces her in 1884, he's kind of retired. He already did the Chicago gig with his giant pants and blah blah blah. So we're kind of getting near the end of his life because these giants, they don't live that long. So
you don't live that long, yeah.
In your bones are too long. That's the problem. Is they're too long.
They're too long, and you know what? Your dick is too long, and that's how you know someone's gonna die. So you marry a man with a shorter dick.
That's right.
That's what it is.
Ryan, I think to the real point of our podcast is marry someone with a shorter dick.
Someone with a shorter dick.
They'll live longer.
They live longer.
It's more dick.
Long term, gotta be shorter dick. Short term, you can marry the big dick, but he will essentially die on you while plowing you.
Definitely. And that's not what you want. Yeah. So 3 weeks before his death, he became very ill and was put in a sling that was hooked to a pulley system on the ceiling of his farmhouse. Now, again, he lost his former estate, so he's in kind of not destitute necessarily, but it's a much smaller place, and it is still a farm in New Jersey. It's less of a mansion kind of thing because he got fucked out of that whole deal. So he's got the pulley system rigged to the ceiling. It took 4 men to work the pulleys in order to change his bed sheets.
Oh my God. Damn.
That's how big he was. Like, never forget, the size is always a factor.
Never forget. Just remember that when you think about this man.
Cauley dies on February 12th, 1889. Now, it says he died of dropsy. Dropsy sounds like one of the 7 dwarves, for sure.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But it is actually congestive heart failure, so it's very serious.
Okay.
That's a lot less humorous.
It's a lot less humorous. Right. Dropsy is a little more fun version of this. You're dead all the same, so I don't really doubt.
Dropsy sounds like a fun little jig they used to dance back in the 1800s.
Crowd's loving it. Crowd's loving
I
Dropsy.
was loving it, yeah.
It was a good Friday night. We all did the dropsy,
God damn it. We got to stop drinking so much during these episodes. All right, so he dies of dropsy, right? Upon his death, it took 5 men to remove him from the bed, but they dropped him, and the fall broke the actual bed and floor beneath his bed. That's how fucking heavy he was at the time.
And that's not the dropsy?
Dude, that's
It was you know what? I think the difference is, Connor, that the dropsy happened post-mortem as opposed to pre-mortem.
Okay.
That didn't cause the deaths. I think
that's my confusion. I'm sorry.
the dropsy sounds like a sick ass dance that they used to do back in the day. And the way Connor just described it, I imagine like dubstep, like when the bass hits.
I was just thinking dubstep, dude. Like they drop them,
the dropsy,
and then it breaks the bed and the floor, and then they're like,
they drop this guy like the fucking like the ball on New Year's Day, and then just like go fucking wild.
Yeah. Drops, you got this, motherfucker.
These are bad jokes, by the way.
They're bad jokes. They're terrible jokes.
You gotta think about editing this, while you're on it.
This is gonna be a nightmare. Anyway, yeah. So they drop him. They end up finally getting him on and this is a quote, a strongly supported platform for his preparation for burial. So this is it. The coffin was over 7.5 feet long, and it was more than 2 feet wide. His burial plot was 8 feet long and more than 3 feet wide for the
Wow.
dirt. So I mean, it's one of those things of always a factor. The biggest problem is the coffin was so large that the coffin couldn't actually fit into the house. It couldn't fit it through any of the doorways, through any, they couldn't tip it, they couldn't switch it, whatever. So they had to, and they didn't go into this, thank God, but they had to somehow get the body to the porch. But that means they had to, if the coffin wouldn't fit, which would, let's just say, cause him to be a little more rigid, less pliable, that means they had to manipulate the corpse in some way to get it out the door. I'm sure that was a whole thing.
And
We can't have any more dropsies. That's all I'm saying. Really.
What's shitty is like when someone dies, they bloat, and then you have so this guy was massive before he started, right?
Yeah.
Then when he died, he got 3 times bigger.
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
bloat.
He was definitely,
Well, then congestive heart failure actually causes a lot of swelling, usually in your lower extremities. So his 10 foot of fucking legs they swelled up with fluid before he died. Then they got probably even bigger when he died, and they had to get him out of the house.
Oh my God.
Like
His-
the
his
math
quote-
behind getting this guy out of the house had to be awful, right?
Yeah.
I actually imagine him as the heaviest sleeper sofa you've ever fucking moved. Imagine a 500-pound sleeper sofa that you can't fit through a fucking doorway. Because eventually it stops becoming a sofa and only becomes an object. So you got this corpse and somehow supported, and you're just like, God damn it, I can't tip it this way. You got to tip it the other way.
Hook it around the angle.
Yeah, put his feet through first, and I'll hook it forward, and then you tip 90. I'll come forward.
Horatio, you have to L. You have to L it.
Hit
you have
the
to
L.
L it. Put it
No,
on
no.
the L. You
Drop-
got to No.
You drop your end.
No.
You drop your end.
Okay.
I'll come up, and
All
then
right.
you swing it.
All right.
No, that's not going to work either.
That's not. That might not. Okay, that might not be the
Take
thing.
it back in. Take it back in.
Take it
We got to
back
do
in.
another dropsy. We got to do another dropsy.
By some miracle, they get this guy on the porch, and they hold all the stuff out on the porch. They do the visitation, they do the praying and all this other shit on the porch. 8 poor bastards from whatever village he lived in had to carry the coffin, obviously with his corpse, his 500-pound corpse in it probably at the time, to the wagon, which they couldn't get up to the house because it had kind of gone to shit. They had to carry it 100 feet to the wagon. Can you imagine that?
I don't want to be a part of that.
It's like
So how big was the body? I'll give you an example.
There's weight of coffin in there
no.
as
So
well.
right. So this is a coffin, right? So the coffin was 7.5 by 2.5 feet wide or something like that. 500 pounds of, I'm going to use the term sloshing body. There's a moving weight in there of 500 pounds, and you got to move that 100 feet. Now you got 8 guys. It's not no one, but what a fucking chore. Holy God.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. So when I was in the Marines, we had these. I was at a boat raid company for a couple years, and these boats were these big rubber rafts, and they're hard to manage because they're full of air, but just the raft, just the rubber with the air in it, and the metal decking that goes inside of it was close to 800 pounds. And there would be 6 of us, maybe 8 if we were lucky, carrying this fucking thing, which is great for me because I'm 5'6", 5'7" in the morning, so all the 6 foot fuckers are holding this thing up, and I'm
You guys are doing great.
pretending like I'm holding it. But that was, I don't mean to sound douchey. That it was kind of manageable, easily manageable for us.
Yeah.
But then again, this is after once you're in that kind of place, this is after years of getting your dick ground into the ground and forgetting about the way your body feels.
Right.
So, but that boat is rigid. So I couldn't imagine picking something up that weighs 400 or 500 pounds, and perhaps rigor mortis has taken place at this point, but something that just does not want to comply with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And smells like shit, by the way. Like
I was pallbearer for my friend, my best friend from high school who passed away, and he was like 6'7".
Yeah, Big John.
Big John, yeah, and definitely well into the 300s. He had lost some weight, but it was still like a big thing. But moving him was definitely, and we were just average people moving his coffin or whatever, and that was a fucking lot. And we had all the assistance probably needed for a full kind of Catholic ceremony that you would do for something like this. So definitely moving a body of that size, I cannot imagine.
It would be incredible. I think not to reduce it too much, but when you're talking about your friends and family carrying your weight on your death, like there's symbolism there. You want that stuff, right? And that's the important stuff.
Yeah.
But to have to go 100 feet with
holy shit,
big bastard, because it's him and it's the coffin, and yes, it's jokingly quote unquote unfair to these people, but like he also actually didn't have a lot of close friends, so these people they probably didn't know him that well. They knew him, he's the tall guy in the farmhouse on this side of the block, whatever, and they were like, you know what? I'll carry him.
Carry him how far? I didn't know him that well.
Yeah. I'm a 25-foot friend. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know. Yeah. Is the wagon just on the side of the porch or what's up?
Can we fix the wagon? Like, what's okay?
Here's the thing, too. They had wagon hearses at the time. They couldn't find a wagon hearse big enough, so they just put him in the back of a big empty wagon because they couldn't find one to actually fit the coffin in.
Wow.
Yeah, which was actually probably easier for them to load, if I'm honest with you.
So, like in the military, when we have funerals, it's like very coordinated, and I think it's kind of the same way. I've never actually been to like a civilian funeral. I've only been at military funerals. So, like Ryan, when you were carrying Big John, right?
Yeah.
Was that like a slow, coordinated like walk?
Super slow. And then, again, it was so big that they actually allowed us the opportunity to use basically like a little
like a cart, right?
Yeah, it's like a little wheeled cart that basically does all the work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were using from probably 2/3 of it. There was staircase that you had to go down, but definitely we were using a cart at one point. So
yeah.
Okay.
But no, and carrying it was like, again, I might be a shorter person on this podcast. Those who were taller, it was like, you're bearing most of the weight. Luckily, there was like 10 of us who were trying to carry this thing, so it was a little bit easier to get it off of the actual cart and into the vehicle.
Well, and it is the weight of the person, obviously, and then maybe whatever's going on, the congestive heart failure, or if there's chemicals from, embalming or kind of whatever background stuff I honestly don't want to know about. But then it's also the weight of the coffin. I will say, generically speaking, I think modern day coffins are probably a lot heavier than coffins in the 1889s.
Those were probably very heavy though, because those were probably solid.
Right. So they're probably real wood, but it's a less like adornment and all the other shit that they couldn't do with us. But all that aside, it's a long walk for a big man and 8 guys who probably didn't know him that well. So he is then buried after his little wagon ride in the standard wagon. He's buried in the Middlebush Cemetery in Middlebush, New Jersey, where his final farm was.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have one more thing that came out in the obituary. So this is from the New York Sun, written on February 14th, Valentine's Day, in 1889. And this is a direct quote pulled from it, and it has to do with his lineage, and I'm just going to read the quote. After his death, a suspicion that he had Negro blood in his veins was strongly confirmed. The hair he wore was straight and fine. He wore it long behind and parted at the side. A few years ago, it was alleged that it was a wig. This was true. After his death, the wig was taken off and disclosed a curiously oblong head, thickly covered with kinky hair. Every hair was jet black. He wore a large mustache. He, during his later years, wore a full black beard that in no way invalidated his title as the Arabian Giant. So the specific author of this quote is not listed. Like the author of his obit is not specifically listed. And this only seems like a weird way to discredit him. It actually appears, if you read the full obituary, it appears it's kind of an oddity. It talks about his life and goes through, but for some reason, in this period of this time, they seem to in some way discredit him by saying that he has mixed blood. And for the life of me, I don't know why. I honestly couldn't figure out why.
That honestly, yeah, that actually sounds, in my opinion, that sounds like someone trying to like take away from his lineage. So someone like trying to discredit him. And maybe this is sweet, paying someone to write something after he's had his ass beat by this fucking giant dude.
Yeah. Or maybe it was the super intelligent goat.
Might have been the knowledgeable goat. He's right. Yeah.
Who was fucking racist?
That's why he cost so much money.
Honestly, it's the racist goats in this country have got to fucking stop.
We're done with it.
Like
it's over.
That's been my biggest problem.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. If there's one thing I'm sick of, it's racist goats.
It's those fucking racist goats. The thing is, no one's talking about it, but it's a huge problem.
It's not brought up. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. There's in the full obit, there's some. I feel like they're trying to say that he was lying about being the Arabian Giant by being Arthur Colley in real life. And he kind of talks about that, saying that he repented in the end and all this other stuff. And any listeners, I encourage you to go read the obit because it's an interesting read from what we know present day to what they knew upon his death, that he is actually from the Isle of Man and that he was considered a Manxman or a Manx giant. And had nothing to do with, there was no evidence that he had any sort of mixed heritage. There's certainly no evidence he ever came from anywhere in the Middle East or the Arabian Peninsula or any of that bullshit. So the fact that it goes in to discredit him in this way, maybe from what I've seen, is maybe a way to talk about some of the lies that he's told by pretending to be the Arabian Giant as opposed to Arthur Colley. But beyond that, he's just a fucking tall dude in P.T. Barnum's circus. I mean, I don't really get the fucking slight, honestly. Yeah. Besides the possibility there is a fucking racist goat out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. maybe the goat was a racist, and he wrote these things to bash this man.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, maybe. I don't know. It's just the motive behind including that, besides, again, casting aspersions for whatever motive, is unclear. But like everything else in the obit was like fairly factual. It was just like his life. And so his true origins as Arthur Colley didn't truly come out until kind of a ways after his death. The timeline's a little murky, but they realized that like this guy who had died in Middlebush, New Jersey, who had been billed as this Arab giant and all this other bullshit, his family eventually got the news that, hey, my son who is 40, 50 years old, whatever, who was enormous, didn't die in Paris. He died there, and everything kind of lined up. So he was buried with a kind of an unmarked grave initially because they were worried about like grave robbers stealing his fucking skeleton. Like literally, some people wanted his extremely long bones to put on display.
P.T. Barnum's coming back to eat them bones.
I want your bones.
Dude, dead serious? They were worried it was going to be fucking P.T. Barnum because he had skeletons of previous tall people who had died, and he put them on fucking display. Sorry. God. It's like, this guy's a fucking monster.
He absolutely is. Dude, but, skeletons of tall people are so cool. We would all love to have one.
Wow. Okay.
And just Ryan's just praying to it every night.
Mm-hmm. And
give me what you have.
When Kyle dies, I'm going to just have that skeleton displayed because he's tall. For our listeners, he's tall.
He's a tall man.
Give me your fucking bones.
Yeah, give me your bones.
Yeah. So, that's Arthur Colley, the Manx giant, the Arabian giant, the Palestine giant.
Just to summate, So we have this guy. We have the Jerusalem Giant, right? And he travels around with P.T. Barnum, and he is with another giantess, and she has her own story. And there's other small people and their stories. And this guy turns out to be someone who he's not completely. And then he develops this new life in America after killing himself off in France, and then marries a woman who's a complete fucking slut, and runs off with this guy named Sleep,
Lord.
and steals his estate and his goat. The goat's a genius. We know nothing about the goat. All we know that the goat has solved the mysteries of time, space travel, the problems in the theory of relativity, the general theories of relativity. He's solved them all. We don't know where the goat's at, what he's done, but this guy Sweet stole them. So when this like 1800s Andre the Giant character found him on the beach in New Jersey, he beat the fuck out of him. Unfortunately, beat the fuck out of him too much, where he could not get the secrets of the goat from him. Years later, he dies under his real alias Coley, and they have a hard time getting him out of the house. This is where the first incidence of dubstep is created. They drop him, and they drop the and they carry him to this horse-drawn buggy that struggles to take him to his final burying place, and they have to put guards up there to keep P.T. Barnum from stealing his fucking corpse and putting it on display, because P.T. Barnum is the devil, apparently.
But don't knock it till you try it.
There it is.
Oh.
There it is.
Oh no.